I think she was like getting excited that he was coming over to talk to her or pull her aside and like dance with her. Like if I was there, I'd be like, the hell was that? Like I would have been livid.
First of all, how are you doing with your health? I know you opened up about your Lyme disease diagnosis. You talked to Ryan Stutter, I believe, who was obviously Trista's husband. He's been open about his health stuff. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well right now. You know, I think I've had this for a long time to the point where I know how to maintain it. It's just I can't necessarily live like an average person my age, whether that means going out to fancy dinners and constantly going out to parties late nights, like, you know, a drink here and there will just kind of kill me. So I never understood why I was so sensitive. Makes sense now why I can't necessarily live like some of my friends. But again, I know how to maintain it pretty well. I haven't started my protocol yet. I start that next week. So right now is just a period of me doing a lot of research about health, why my body is the way it is. And it's kind of like chemistry if you think about it. You know, you got to get your body to a place where it's strong enough to be able to fight off this infection. And I'm just learning the ins and outs of everything that affects us on a daily basis and how I could change that to benefit myself.
And I'm sure the Instagram reaction, you've probably gotten some really nice messages, but also I would assume maybe some like helpful tips or like people trying to like give you like figure this out together. It's like a nice side of social media, I would hope.
Sarah, what's the craziest thing and the thing I'm most grateful for right now is having a platform, because the amount of people that I'm trying to help, they help me so much more. And I'm not kidding. I have like chills talking about it, because the amount of like DMs that I've gotten from people and the amount of people that have been like telling me to check out certain things has been so beneficial for me. But also I'm hoping to use that to inform other people who are in my situation to help them. So again, right now I'm like the most grateful in the world to have this platform, so people could teach me, but also I could kind of teach others as well.
It's very nice when social media has a good side, because especially in Bachelor Nation, there's some toxic stuff going on, and the season of Paradise has shown that more than ever, I think.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. You know what? I think that this show essentially feeds off toxicity, and it's sad, but I think that's just how our world works. Is the more that I'm figuring it out, you know, it's all the bad headlines that hit, and it's the most watched episodes are the ones that are crazy and people are going nuts. You know, it's not necessarily the love stories of people being goo goo gaga over each other. So it's just what I'm learning, and I guess that's the show that I was on.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate, because there is like that love story aspect that's not been missing necessarily, because every season, especially the most recent Bachelorette seasons, have had, you know, a love aspect of it. But there's something to be said for, you know, people just want to know, one, like the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. And then two, they're not like rooting for downfalls, but when you give like a little bit, it's like the people just pounce, and there is this balance of like, we can joke about something without being insane. And I wish everybody the majority knew that, because it's like getting too dark, and it's like, we're not going to be able to joke about the show anymore if people keep DMing people like horrible things. Like, we got to find the balance, guys. We got to find
No, I agree, because it's hard on our mental health too, just like getting that and being thrown in this world so fast. It gets hard sometimes. But at the same time, you got to learn how to laugh at yourself to some degree. You know, I've kind of grown up with a family like that, where we just always make jokes and make fun of each other. And even when people DM me, you know, I was on live the other day and they were just making jokes, and I was like dying laughing. I was like, man, like a lot of these fans are actually so witty, and like I can handle that. Like, I love that. So I don't know. It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's definitely a good way to look at it. I want to get into this episode, but also your BFF Kelsey was on this season briefly. Yeah. How was it? I know you said, didn't she come back and you guys just like went on vacation and tried to kick it off? I feel like poor Kelsey had a rough little stint in Paris.
She did. Poor Kelsey. I mean, that girl is an absolute gem, and I'll say that every single day. Like, I'm not kidding. She's one of the best people that I know. And I was super stoked for her to go to Paradise. Her and I were talking all about it. And her and I speak every single day. So I was like, man, like, what am I going to do without Kelsey when she's gone? lo and behold, she wasn't gone too long. So she messaged me right away and I was like, do you need me to come fly to you? Like, you know, we always try to be supportive of each other in that sense. And she's like, nope, want to get out of Nashville. I'm coming to you. So she came and spent, I think, either 2 or 3 weeks with me. And, you know, we couldn't really publicize that, but just living a great life down here, whether it's golf cart rides, tanning, eating healthy, working out, like we just lived a low key life and kind of our best lives.
So she's good. She's not crying any more tears over anything that happened on the beach.
Yeah, you know what? With Kelsey, I even when she was going on, there wasn't anyone that I really thought like, oh, you would be great with that person. Kelsey's a very, very mature person, and I just didn't like. I don't even know who I would say that I would like ship her with. Mm-hmm. So. From the people that I knew that were going on Paradise. So I kind of had some expectations that she might not stay there too long. Maybe I was going to be surprised. I don't know. But overall, there wasn't anyone that I was like, you know what, you're going to strive. You're going to do great. I kind of thought like, I don't know who I'd ship you with. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Well, good for her for going. No harm done there. You can't really say the same necessarily for maybe an Ivan to jump into this episode. Ivan, who I feel was a very beloved figure from Tayshia's season, maybe regretting the Paradise journey because sometimes when you get that quote unquote good edit, it's a risk if you're going to go on another one of these shows because you don't know. Yeah. Versus if you get a quote unquote bad edit, you usually could get a redemption. So it's a risk. Yeah. Ivan took the risk. Let's talk about his feud with Aaron first and the Chelsea of it all. My biggest takeaway was that they were both rose hunting and that no one actually cared about Chelsea. And where were they hiding Chelsea during the fight?
I hear you 100%. I definitely think Ivan got caught up in a little bit of lies here and there, but like, Sarah, there's so much that goes in this show and everyone's like mental capacity when you're on it. I feel like you could just read into what was going on with Aaron and Ivan. Like they both didn't want to go home. They both wanted a rose and they were going to finagle their way in any sense to try to get that rose. But honestly, you can't necessarily blame them. I think that every single contestant that is on that beach kind of has that same mentality.
Yeah.
So it just gets like funny because once you know that, it's like you're reading into it and you're like, this is kind of bogus. Like, okay, yeah, Ivan didn't want to go home and he started lying about stuff. Well, guess what? Aaron didn't want to go home either, and that's why he's getting upset. But I don't really think it was about Chelsea, and poor Chelsea sitting there being like, these guys are fighting over me, but I don't even know if they like me.
And she wasn't even there. Like, were they keep her somewhere in an interview to let this all play out? Because if she was definitely the only person not there watching it all happen.
Yeah, to be honest, they probably pulled her to do like an interview. Yeah. So then when she came back, it was, hey, what went on? And people told her. So that's my assumption, is they probably pulled her for an interview so she wasn't around when it was happening. I don't know, but yeah, that's most likely the case.
That was what I was thinking too. And I also just think, well, one with Aaron, he's been on the show all season somehow. And it's such a hothead. Like, he jumps to these crazy conclusions. Like, Ivan has no morals. Like, he just gets so extreme. Thomas is my mortal enemy. Like, relax, first of all, dude. Like, it's just not that serious. But like, then he does the same thing. He gets so mad and he claimed like he had some interest in Chelsea, but he gets hung up on the wrong stuff. Like, he was more upset and it was bad. Obviously, Ivan was totally lying about why he wanted to talk to Chelsea and he got caught. And that was like amazing when they rolled the tape, because I feel like they don't usually do that. Like, it was like a breaking of the fourth wall. Like, let's watch it back. They should do that more. But I just can't with Aaron. He is just, we'll get to Tia later, but he just is so hypocritical in my opinion.
I think it almost looks like he might have a short temper going on. Mm-hmm. And I think he also probably wears his heart on his sleeve. And I feel like he could just like hit that spark, which honestly is the best person for a Paradise situation. Mm-hmm. You don't want someone who's calm, relaxed, and like has their shit together. You want someone who's going to fire off with the littlest things to start that controversy. So I think that Aaron is the perfect person for what production wants, for what TV wants. Like, he's starting everything, you know. Yeah. How he feels, I'm not actually sure.
No idea.
But he is the perfect person for reality TV, I would say.
And Ivan also, it's interesting because he definitely was quote unquote rose hunting to a degree, but he also, I struggle with him a little bit because was like needed the guys to have his back. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it all turned into the Chelsea of it all was certainly lost on, you know, who wanted Chelsea. And I always feel bad when that happens because you go back to, it's kind of bogus, like the concept. And I just think they need to tweak the quote unquote rules of the game here in Paradise, because on like a show like Love Island or a different reality show like this, if there's like money involved or there's more scheming like implied, on this show they try to pretend that it's about love only. And there needs to be a way to like, I'm like making up rules here. They should have like a rose that they can like call a safety card and get to stay for a week if they don't get a rose to see who comes down, instead of using someone else. Or if we're going to use people, then make that more socially acceptable, because I agree we shouldn't use Chelsea here, but like, are they wrong? Like, that's how you play the game, right?
Yeah, but I think that's, I think it's kind of like known, and it's unfortunate, but that's just how this show unfortunately goes, is like, but it's so funny because there's so much I can't even say this word, hypocrisy, that it's like this person gets so upset for using this person, but that person, like everyone is using each other.
Right.
And I remember talking to Kelsey when she went on, she was telling me, she's like, Kelley, day one I got there, like everyone was just like panned off making out with each other. And she was like, I'm not going to make out with someone that I don't have feelings for yet, or like don't really know. But I think a lot of the contestants know the game that they're playing as well. So when you see that of like someone getting so upset, it's like, you guys are all doing it.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I feel like we pick and choose based on who's like well liked, I guess, on who gets defended, which makes it like kind of high schooly. And even
but also you have to understand that that's where the drama comes from. So it's like, if you took that element out of the show, then like, where's the drama going to spark from? Because it's like, the majority of it, 90% of the drama is someone getting upset because they got used. And it's like,
yeah.
So how else are you going to start controversy, especially if you're a producer, if that element is taken away?
Yeah, you feel bad for whoever's being used, but I guess sometimes you turn around and you could use someone the next week. So it's just it's the rose hunting of it all, as they're calling it. It's kind of it's just hypocritical, because they all are.
Yeah.
But then this Ivan controversy obviously goes the next step when we find out during that brief lockdown they were in hotel rooms, they had roommates. Noah was Ivan's roommate, and he somehow got a hold of a producer's phone, and he somehow found Alexa, I believe her name is, who was on your season, right?
Yeah.
Somehow
She's from Chicago.
Yes. Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Did you know her?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I didn't know her from Chicago. I knew her after the show. I've like hung out with her maybe once or twice, but don't know her too well. Justice
for her, because her name is getting attention. Hopefully she got some sort of payment, because she stirred the pot in a way that she didn't even get to be on the show. But they somehow met up at this hotel. And sat him down, like, you know, the principal or the guidance counselor, and scolded him. And I feel so many different ways about this. What was your initial reaction?
So I actually know Ivan well, and I know Noah well. I started crying laughing when Noah was like, I went to bed, and I was like,
Noah, what do you know?
But like, hey, I applaud him for not ratting out in any ways, but I was dying laughing. And again, with Ivan, it's like, I know Ivan well. I was texting both of them last night, giving them both. I was like, guys, what are you doing? But with Ivan, it's almost like you can't blame him, and I'll tell you why. Because those producers are so strict with their phones. They don't let you just play with their phones. They don't just happen to leave a phone around. Like, I personally think, whether it was a mistake or not, I personally think that it was almost planted there, especially because he did say that the first thing when he saw the phone was just all the room. So it's like, if it was like a phone and it had like text messages on it, or like the home screen or something, like, okay, one thing. But when you look at the phone and it's blatantly everyone's room, like, you gotta think that was planted a little bit. So, hey, genius on their idea. It worked, clearly.
Go for it.
If that was intentional, you know, it worked. If not, then who knows?
I saw a meme that was like, it was like producer screensaver or like lock screen, and it was just Alexa room 908. Like there doesn't make any sense. In what world did he just happen to? It's ridiculous that they even let us like try to make us buy that as a story. And then I know that I've heard people say, especially in Paradise, but on the show in general, producers don't like when you go behind their back, and they are going to expose that in whatever way they feel fit. So that's clearly, in my opinion, what was happening here, that he quote unquote broke the rules. There is something to be said for, I know they have to sign like consent forms and stuff in Paradise, so they could argue it's like a legal thing that if you went behind their back. I think it's more so that this was a plan, and it's easy to get mad at Ivan, I guess, for quote unquote breaking the rules. And this cast specifically has taken the rules very seriously, whatever they may be. But at the same time, if the point of the show is quote unquote finding love, can we be mad at Ivan for shooting a shot with Alexa?
No, I agree. I think that, again, I don't necessarily blame him in this scenario, just because he knew the girl that he liked was there, and he just went for it. It's almost kind of like, think about when you're sneaking out in middle school and you just like get super excited. You're like, oh my God. That's kind of how being on the show, because there's like so many rules, so many restrictions, that when you do something little, like you feel like such a badass. Yeah. So I'm sure Ivan's like, let's go for it. And hey, I don't think too many people are judging him on that one though. I don't think there's too much backlash for that.
I also think because it's not like it was someone, with the way in the promo, I was almost thinking maybe like he hooked up with someone who is like in a relationship, like it was like an affair moment, like that would have been a little more scandalous. Yeah. And it also just come off so dramatic. Like poor he's in the limo saying he's going to regret this for the rest of his life. Like it's just the drama of the show. I'm like, dude, it wasn't that bad. And like Alexa was assumingly someone you were interested in. Like maybe you had a good time. Like it's all good. Like you didn't break anyone up. It wasn't as bad, I feel like, as the vibe that they were giving it to be. But it was interesting. It was good drama for the first hour of the show.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was like, I'm really going to reflect on this. I was like, Ivan, I promise you'll be all right.
Ivan, you will be okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the best thing that would happen is like him and Alexa dated. Like that's what I want to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that. But
silence sometimes speaks louder than words. And also with those two though, I mean, it brings it to the rest of the episode when you bring in McKenna and an Anna. I know it's not their fault that they come on late, but it's just like, I feel like if I was McKenna and I got to go to a VIP party and they kept me in a hotel room for a week, I'd be like, I'm out. Like, I don't think I could show up knowing in 2 days that half these people are going to propose.
Yep. I feel very bad for McKenna. You know what? I'm very close with McKenna, and she was so excited to go on Paradise. Like, this was like her dream come true type of thing. She was amped. She was pumped. And then to know that, they essentially hold you in quarantine for so long just to be put out there the last week where everyone has connections. I really felt for her, because it's like she had zero options going in there. She handled herself great, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I think she did a great job. I just feel bad because, I think a lot of people, her expectations were high, and she just got so disappointed with her experience that I was like, man, like I feel for you.
Yeah, that's really hard. I also think it goes back to, real quick with the Ivan thing, it's like I would imagine producers are telling him, because he's not getting, the connections he wants, or everyone's leaving, what about Alexa? You keep bringing up Alexa, maybe she'll show up. And I had Connor from a few seasons ago on a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that, the producers knew he wanted to meet Whitney, and they were like, she's coming. And then they let him leave, and then they brought Whitney the next day. So it's like, they probably did something similar with the Alexa Ivan situation, if I had to guess, since she was quote unquote on his list or whatever.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I know a lot of the story from Ivan, but I actually don't know the end result on that one.
All right. McKenna, so obviously Thomas and Aaron also says no to going out with her. Interesting, Aaron deciding in that moment he doesn't want to go out with someone, but later on deciding he maybe does.
Yeah.
And Ed, who, it was a little...
Wait, can we talk about Ed? Ed is like, I've met Ed once recently, and he was very sweet, but just watching him on the show here, I was like, you are a sweetheart.
Yes.
Like, you are so sweet. Like, And I don't know, I thought it was so cute, and he wasn't really giving up. He was like, let's just make fun out of it. Like, this is amazing. I was like, you know what, Ed, like, you just changed her whole experience, and good for you. Like, good karma's coming your way.
You're right. And honestly, like, what do they have to lose? Like, you know, McKenna, you just got here, like, it sucks. And if I was her, I'd be like, why did I just, you know, spend a week in a hotel? Like, I'm annoyed, whatever. But Ed, I mean, he's got, by the way, his app.
By the way.
He was.
It's longer than a week, but.
Oh, longer than a week? Oh, God. The time frame with this show also always throws me off. Like, they make the contestants talk about, like, it each week, but obviously we know it's been, like, a day, and there's been, like, no rose ceremonies this whole season, so I feel like the timeline is even more messed up.
Yeah.
But that was cute. And even with Anna, who got there late, no one wants to go. But the James of it all kind of worked for me. I don't know. They seemed cute.
I actually could see them being extremely, like, cute together. Like, that actually went over so well. I feel like it was natural. Like, it didn't seem forced in any way. None of it seemed like for publicity or for the show. Like, they genuinely, I feel like, had a connection there.
Yeah, I mean, the churro thing was disgusting, but that's just been the theme of the season. They keep making people roll around in food they're ruining it. I mean, the sour cream was the worst for me, but, like, overall, it's just freaking gross. I don't get it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, like, sexuality coming up in this paradise.
Yeah, there has. Before we get to the prom, because that was obviously a big one, Serena and Joe, thoughts on those two as a duo?
I think they're so cute. Again, like, I feel like their connection, one, you know what, I'm going to say something.
Do it.
I feel like Joe is into Serena more, but I'll tell you something. I think when it is that way, that it works out better, because I feel like girls are naturally just giving. It's just, like, kind of in our blood that we're just, you know, these people that are kind of caretakers. Mm-hmm. So I think when the guy loves a little bit more, those are the relationships that are more successful, are set up for success. So you could tell that Joe is smitten by Serena. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I was like, you know what, again, like, I think that's a couple that could truly work. And again, I feel like they get each other. Like, she's a little sassy to him, and he takes it, and I don't know if he likes it or not, but I think he does. But I like how she, like, throws these little, like, sassy, witty comments at him, and he seems to laugh. So again, I can see them working out.
They seem very comfortable with each other, which is good in a show that presents very uncomfortable situations. I think it's the Lady Gang podcast that Kelsey and Becca on that show always give the advice of marry someone who loves you more than you love them, which sounds bad, but you're not wrong. It's like, especially in this, I mean, if they're talking about moving in the debate, and his whole breakup with Kendall was over Chicago, if he likes Serena more than he likes Kendall, maybe he would move, or maybe it would not be, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of elements to it. And I've been saying this whole time, I don't know if those two will work simply because his last relationship ended over a distance issue. And they kind of hinted at it this week, but we really don't know what their plan is. But if he's down, maybe he would move for her versus the Kendall had to move for him.
But I wonder what is, like, making him stick to Chicago, whether it's, like, you know, something that could potential change. Is it just family, or is it because, you know, like, when you're getting into the LAs and stuff like that, like, things are really expensive. Was it a financial position? Like, you don't know why he wanted to stay in Chicago, and that could change. Like, now he has the podcast, now he's on Paradise, has probably a more loyal following. He's gotten a great edit. Like, he's gone over things, like, super, super well. So, maybe with Kendall and him, it wasn't the right timing that he would even consider it. But I feel like Joe's got a lot more things going on. I think he has a tomato sauce or something.
Amazing.
So who knows if it was, like, financially, if it was family, like, what are the reasons why he wanted to stay in Chicago? I don't personally know them. You might know them, but who knows if those will change too.
That's a good point. I think it's hard not to root for them. People seem to be pretty on board with those two. And if they choose to have a influencer couple life, they would probably be very successful. It's just the decision of if you want to go down that path.
I was just in New York with Serena, and she's hilarious.
She's as cool because she seems so cool, and I actually was expecting her to be. I've never spoken to her, expecting her to kind of be like the Bachelorette in Paradise, like the hot commodity. But her and Joe coupled up so quickly that it didn't happen. But I was kind of expecting her to be like the star, to be honest, because she's
very like calm and relaxed and just like chills.
Kenny and Mari, on the other hand, I was rooting for them pretty hard earlier in the season. Now I'm just confused that every episode they have the same conversation and they fight and break up and this spiritual healer is going to solve their problems. And I don't really buy it. I think they're going to implode in the real world. I
wonder what's going on there. One, I think Mari is probably one of the most beautiful girls I've seen. She is stunning, just naturally, but I kind of noticed a trait here, and I could be totally off on this, but it almost sounds like Kenny really, really likes the excitement. And it almost sounds like excitement, or is it toxicity? Because it's like when the Demi situation was coming on, there was a lot of like drama around him. And that's when him and Mari got passionate, because it was like pulling this way, pulling that way. And then now that things have like cooled off, and it seems like I would expect them to just be secure. Now he's saying things like the passion's not there. And I was like, wait, what? Like, why? Yeah. Like, this is the first time you guys are like truly, truly stable. Like, you should be fine.
Imagine eating tacos off of someone and then like 2 days later being like, we have no passion. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his head. Again, we don't see that much. So, but when I saw that, I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is the first time you guys are stable. This is where you should start falling in love more. But
my hot take on them on the Us Weekly Bachelor YouTube show this morning was they kind of give me Grant and Lace vibes from a few seasons ago. And I think Mari is amazing. Not that they're not total direct parallel, but just like they had such highs and lows in Paradise. And I was like, maybe it'll work just because like it's so insane. They got tattoos that say Grace, never forget. But also like this is just it's just going to implode. And I could see these two having a similar trajectory.
You know way more than I do. I don't even know who those people are. I don't know what the tattoo is. I have no idea.
Paradise a few years ago got Grace tattoos. It was Grant and Lace, and they got Grace tattooed on them, and they just would break up too all the time. And it was like, is it just weird enough to work in the real world, or are they going to implode? And they imploded. And I think Mari and Kenny might have a similar trajectory.
Oh no! Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We went to prom, which was so high school in general. It was perfect because you get back in your head, right? I feel like if I was on that beach and I was like a Tia who had to go to quote unquote prom alone, I would feel like 17 again. Like
I felt so bad for Tia.
So bad.
Like, it was the perfect footage too of like her with these like big puffy shoulders and like the scrunchie, and then it's like her running away being like, I deserve love too. I was like, oh my god, Tia, I feel horrible for you.
Yeah, it was a little tough there, and they had the prom posals and the ridiculous, it was all obviously like producer props and stuff, but the clothes were cute. It was an interesting way to kind of get everyone out of their comfort of laying on the beach chairs with each other or whatever. And we quickly see Aaron, decide maybe he had a little bit too much of that spiked punch. Maybe he's been waiting for Tia to be available. I have no idea where this came from, but we see him take Tia away, and a very passionate high school style makeout go down at the prom.
Yeah, I was, again, like, I think with Aaron, I think he maybe he just wasn't interested in McKenna, I'm not sure, but I think he almost wanted to turn McKenna away so he didn't look like the Ivan in this scenario, and he was being loyal and actually like Chelsea. But then when he did the switch to Tia, it's like, where's your mind? Where's your brain? Like, what are you doing?
He had no game, no plan.
I'm confused by that. I don't know where that came from, because Tia's been there, and then I don't know, I can't say this word, but I keep wanting to say it. Hypocrisy.
You can say it. Confidence, Kelley. You can say it.
I don't know why it's like I'm struggling to say it. But yeah, I don't know what the game plan was there.
I don't either. And I mean, it's, again, there's an aspect of it that always tells me it's the name of the game. They can do whatever they want. No one's locked in at this point. He barely knows Chelsea, even though he fought so hard for her, quote unquote. But the walking past her together and then dancing, I don't know if it was just the edit, but it didn't look great.
The worst part was he pulled Tia when Tia was dancing with Chelsea, and I was like, oh no. Because I think you kind of saw Chelsea, or God, if I was Chelsea, I'd feel like this. But like, I think she was like getting excited that he was coming over to talk to her, pull her aside and like dance with her. And next thing you know, he's actually pulling Tia. Like if I was there, I'd be like, what the hell was that? Like I would have been livid.
It was not good. And it felt so high school. Like whose prom date like didn't go hook up with someone else and like break your heart in the moment. Like it really was like so like the insecurities, and it's so real. And I feel bad for Chelsea because she's like so pretty and she seems so nice and normal, and she's kind of gotten wrapped up in this like love triangle thing, but no one's really like, she's not getting a fair shot. Like she's kind of like being like not tossed around, but like, I don't know. I feel like she's...
I almost feel like I do feel bad for Chelsea, but at the same time, I don't think her expectations were too high, because she did say she was like genuinely falling for Aaron, but again, I didn't necessarily see enough of their interactions to like actually say that.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like she wasn't blindsided, and from what was shown at least, like it was kind of just like, yeah, they linked up, they were looking for roses and stuff like that, but I think she was just like, whatever.
Gotta go. It's winding down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Aaron just, man, he's had so many... You mean part of Paradise is experimenting and get love interests, whatever, but you cannot be the Paradise police on someone and then get upset if someone calls you out. So I hope next week someone calls him out and he has to just finally leave, because I don't get why he's still here, to be honest. Him and James, like, they seem...
I was just going to say, Tia said something about him and James would be so upset.
They are very good for each other, but like, I don't know why they're still here. Again, James and Anna kind of cute, but like, it's just a weird one to me that they've snuck by this whole time, and I just feel like no one's going home. Like no one's ever leaving.
Yeah, no, I know. So,
Abigail and Noah were the other big couple kind of relationship thing in the prom and in this episode. They've confused me this whole time, because I think in theory they seem great, but we don't really see them that much on the show. And I don't know. I've seen people were split here. Some people were more like Noah, you know, you can't go from saying I'm falling in love with you to then calling it off. But at the same time, from what we have seen at least, it doesn't ever really feel like Abigail's really given him that much. So did he just hit a wall and he wanted to like get out before it was like the final week? I don't know how I feel about these two. How do you feel?
I'm sure that it almost like the way that Noah was talking, it almost sounded like he was in his head. Like I think from the beginning, Noah was the one putting a little bit more effort into it than Abigail. And then when he like professed his love for her and said, you know, I don't know if he said I'm falling in love with you or I love you or whatever it was, but I think when she didn't reciprocate that and kind of just gave him a look of like, okay, I think almost anyone would, especially when you know you're mic'd up and you're on TV, I think anyone would almost be embarrassed and start getting in their head to be like, okay, well, like, why am I going to continue this if they're not reciprocating anything?
Yeah.
So I think that Noah's feelings for her are super strong, and I think Abigail's are super strong for him too, but there's definitely a miscommunication going on there.
Yeah.
And I think what maybe was his plan was to try to be like, hey, I need more. Mm-hmm. But I think he went about it in a weird way to be like, no, I still love you, but then like, I don't see you as my person. And maybe that was his ego talking.
Yeah.
To try to like defend all of it, to be like, no, you're just not my person. So when he leaves, it doesn't look like she shut him down or he looks embarrassing or whatever. I do think feelings are there on both ends. I just think that the communication there is off, and I'm not sure why, you know, if there's other people in their head saying things, or if that's just truly how they work.
Yeah, I think they have a great little cute connection when you like see them like making out on the pool or just like hanging out and being friends. But whenever they try to talk about something serious, the whole season, I feel like it's just been something's been weird and it hasn't worked. And they spend more time talking to other people about how they think it's going than maybe each other. But it kind of honestly Katie and Greg vibes with the I love you and the no response. But this was a way to handle it where it was still definitely a miscommunication, but it didn't get like aggressive and angry and weird. So good for Ivan and Abigail and Noah for at least kind of having a conversation instead of like angrily crying and screaming and gaslighting each other.
And running away. I agree with you on that one.